Loneliness, silence, anxiety. Too many men are carrying it alone. I'm Jack Starr, powerlifter, personal trainer, aerialist, and ex-private investigator, and this is the other side of tough. We're rewriting manhood, one conversation at a time. And today we're going to flip the script a little bit. Normally I'm hosting, but today's episode I'm going to be the guest, and my best friend, actress, world traveler, um, known as Miss Chris on IG, Cristina. Thank you for agreeing to host this. I really appreciate it. So let's get right into it.
Cool. Okay.
All right, great. So let's just start off by talking about why I did this podcast.
Wait, before you start that,
Yeah.
let me start by apologizing in advance that I just came back from a trip, as he knows, and I'm a little under the weather. So if you guys hear my voice scratchy, or if I'm sniffly, or if I have to blow my nose real quick, that's why. Anyway, just apologizing in advance.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I got a little bit of it too, but I'm
I
over
passed
it now.
on.
Yeah.
I brought him back a gift.
What are best friends for?
Exactly.
Anyways, yeah, so my goal in starting this was to find the answers of what's the crisis with manhood these days. And it comes from my own personal crisis of, finding out what am I supposed to do with my life? How am I supposed to be the best man possible? And, I went through I went through a lot of trauma, immense loneliness, and a lot of trials and tribulations trying to figure out this answer. And through my path with talking with many guests and having many different people, I've been able to get other people's perspectives on it. But today I thought I would offer my perspective. So, Christina, I'm going to let you take it away, and if you have questions for me, go ahead and let it rip.
So, since Jack is always interviewing people and trying to get their perspective based on their expertise or based on their experience, we are doing this now so that Jack can kind of explain where he's coming from and how he, although he's very much a man, how he gave birth to this idea and this podcast, and what finally, like, we all kind of start with just an idea, and it just kind of lives somewhere in the back of our heads for a while. I mean, it's like up here, and then life happens, and then it goes back there somewhere, and then whenever you see someone else do something, then you're like, wait a minute, I had that idea. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it happens time and time again, like over and over, right? Like, I had that idea, but you never did anything about it. So it finally came to the point where, like, I was taking off out of town, and Jack was like, I'm going to do this. And he really did. And he just, like, I don't know, like, just, like, caught that, like, set that fire, and that fire's just been blazing. Nothing to do with the LA fires.
No. Well, that's where my story begins, though.
Yeah, kind of.
With the LA fires.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like when the real, like, twist happened, and that I really,
That's true.
Yeah, I really started having to, like, make a lot of changes in my life. Had, a lot of traumatic things happen during those times, and
so it's a good segue into how it all started.
Yeah.
Like, and what really, like, lit the fire for you.
Yeah.
And got you. Like,
yeah.
Like, this has to happen. I need to do this. I think it ends up being kind of like therapeutic for you too.
It does, but of course I am going to therapy also on top of that. But yeah, it really does help because, I want to get other people's perspective on the things that they go through. Not only my path, but I want to, get the world's perspective on, what's going on with men these days. Because I think that's a really important question, because there has been a significant problem. I've gone over it in other podcasts before that men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. Men are like 3 times more likely to become alcoholics in their older age. And men suffer from loneliness a lot more than women do. And I don't know if it's predisposed beliefs that men have to hold it in. I've heard that before. Or, just the pressures of being a man, having to provide and care, or even having an identity, because the identities of men have changed so much with modern times.
But let me ask you this: when you say loneliness on what level do you think?
I think loneliness in that you have issues, you have deep-seated issues and problems, and you don't know how to communicate them with other people. There's not.
So it's not so much you having people surround you.
Yeah, it's that I don't want to burden those people with like the deep-seated issues that I have with like depression or something. Depression can be very lonely. Like I have the best friends, you know what I'm saying? Like I have someone like the greatest people surrounding me, but I still have depression, and it's a very lonely feeling because you can't quite express it in words, and it's something that sits with you by yourself. And through therapy, I've been able to express that without burdening my friends, because that's the last thing that I want to do, is burden my friends.
So do you think, so regardless of whether or not someone's sociable or what how much of a social butterfly they are, they could still, like someone who's very sociable in that sense, can still be suffering from loneliness?
Yeah. Definitely.
Because it's just not getting out.
Sometimes it can be the loneliness. Like sometimes the people with like the most people surrounding them can be the most lonely people there is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Still doesn't stop me from wanting to be very, very wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Usually the wealthiest people have the most people around them.
Yeah.
That's because they're all scavengers.
Yeah, and I think with that, like when you have people around you, you got to make sure you have the right people around you, because that can be a lonely experience in itself if you can't be authentically yourself around the people. You're wearing a mask, and I think I did that for the longest time, is that I wore masks for other people because other people were, not complete people that I had in my life.
Well, on that note, and not to get too, I don't know, woo-woo, but I think, personally, I mean, we won't have to take a long walk down that path, but I think what happens is, when you said that, there's, I think you remember one of my favorite songs by FKJ, like Different Masks for Different Days, the video. So in that video, and just in general, it made me think like people who tend to be more empaths don't necessarily wear masks, but because they're sensitive to other people's energies and vibrations, sometimes they can take on some of that. Yeah. So if they're around certain people, especially like energy vampires, too much, like, they can end up taking on a lot of that energy or that persona, that kind of like just, they may be trying to be the most authentic version of themselves, but because they're also empaths, they're sensitive to people around, so they kind of have to limit their interactions. Exposure
to like negative people that drain you.
Yeah.
And that's something that I faced very hard.
But the reason that I say that is because it's not sometimes like purposely putting on a mask where you're hiding something, but because sometimes you're an empath, you end up taking on.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then if you want to elaborate.
Yeah. No. And I did put on a mask. Let me just go back into like a little bit about my past couple of years. Like I'm divorced. I got divorced about 2 years ago, and
happily divorced.
It wasn't.
They're friends.
We are friends. We live together. We live in the same house.
They could be considered besties too.
Yeah. No, she is a true,
she's awesome
and loyal friend, and I hope to have her on the show.
That's actually a great
because
idea.
I think that would be like really great to hear her perspective on the whole process and that sort of thing. And how gracious and she was to what I was going through, because it wasn't her fault. You know what I'm saying? That I wanted the divorce. It was because I didn't know who I was, and I was lost. And that's what it really comes down to. Is it was all these things was a culmination of me trying to find myself because I had no identity. I was focusing my identity on other people. I was focusing, um, impressing other people, getting appreciation from other people, getting recognition from other people. And these people that I was putting that energy into didn't necessarily care, about
Genuinely.
me. Yeah, they just wanted to suck off my energy. Suck off my energy. No, but they wanted to.
Don't you like having your energy?
Yeah, they
sucked
wanted.
off? I'm just kidding.
They wanted to absorb my energy, and it was evident. Like I had, you and other friends be like, look, like you are not happy, like you are drained, and I thought it was the norm, and it took like outside perspective of positive people for me to realize that this wasn't the norm, that
maybe a tiny bit of microdosing occasionally.
maybe, yeah, maybe
not,
a little.
not, talk with your doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
Disclaimer, like we don't advocate.
No, but we've had like many heart to hearts, me and you together. You're one of my best friends in the whole world. And like the difference between you and the people that I've had to shed is that you fill my cup. You don't drain me. And for the past two, like I was friends with some people that were draining me for 15 years. Yeah, and it was a weight. It was a weight of them putting their burden on me every day, and not taking off any of my burden, not being recognizing how much of a burden you put on someone each day. And I don't think they care, because ultimately I didn't leave them. I told them ultimately, I was like, look, we need to talk because I'm being drained. This is affecting me. My spirit is low, and something has to change. We need boundaries. And instead of being like, oh no, let's talk about this. Let me help you. Let me.
So how did the fires incite that?
Yeah. So I was watching.
That thought or that
Yeah.
feeling, like how did that become like the final
So
moment?
Yeah. So I had a best friend, and I'm not going to mention any names. This is not throwing shade at people. This is about my self-discovery.
True.
And
productive.
Yeah. And the year before the fires, before January, I went through some very traumatic things. One of the most traumatic things that I went through was I was watching someone's dog, and I left the gate because someone delivered a package early in the morning and left my gate open. And so I went outside with the dog, and the dog was a bolter. Like, dog would just run, And the dog ran into traffic, and I was chasing it back and forth across the street. And I was just a foot behind it, chasing it through cars. Like, I almost got hit myself. And it got hit and died right in front of me. And I had to pick him up, and I had to take him back. And God bless Carol. Carol was there, and Carol was really helpful and supportive. And I was a mess because I love dogs. Like I might love dogs a little more than humans. But
that's fair.
Yeah. And it was very traumatic, and like I needed support. Yeah, I needed support, and I needed people to be there for me. And you were, and there were the other people that were really supportive and there for me.
Well, let's talk about me being supportive.
You're always
kidding,
supportive.
I'm kidding.
Always supportive. But that like really affected me, and it really put a hole in my heart. And I remember I was at the vet taking the body of the dog, and I was about 2 blocks from this friend. She was best friend for 15 years, and she was just a block down. She was walking distance, and she told me that she couldn't be there with me to deal with it because she had her own dog's appointment, and so she prioritized. It wasn't like a life or
this
death.
was during the fires?
No, this is before.
Right,
I'm just setting.
Okay,
I'm just setting the stage.
Gotcha,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And so, I was like, can you be here with me? I really need it. And I've been there.
You needed the support.
Yeah, I needed the support. I was a wreck. I was, broken.
I remember.
And she was walking distance away, but she had her own dog's appointment, which was very trivial, something that she goes in for all the time. And she was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I have to do my dog's appointment. And that kind of like sent a signal to me. I'm like, this person, I don't think values me that much. Mm-hmm. And then, there was another case where I was thinking about moving to Las Vegas. And when I was about to do that, she got mad at me. And she got upset. And I was like, oh, that's endearing, that she's upset that I'm leaving, right? That
her best friend's leaving.
Yeah, that she cares that much, that she's mad at me, right?
But wait for it.
But when I went and talked to her, she was mad because she said, how dare you go ahead and leave and not, provide pet care for my pets. Because I was her pet care. I took care of all her animals.
She had a lot of animals.
She had a lot of animals and a lot of meds, a lot of care.
And accumulating.
Yeah, and I wasn't paid well for it. And so my value was essentially all I am to her, all I've been to her was pet care. So that was, being her pet, was it?
Pet care.
Pet care person. Yeah.
Go-to.
Yeah.
Pet care go-to.
Yeah. And so before the fire, she went off to Egypt. And she went on a long trip to Egypt. And during that time, while I'm watching her 6 cats and her sickly dog, who I loved, very sweet dog, the fires happened and we were surrounded. And there were notifications going on, all the time that, evacuate. And they were all false alarms. They're like, this area needs to evacuate. And I'm like, oh shit. And so I'm like hustling. I had to set up like 6 carriers for the cats, a carrier for the dog, and like put them all in my car, plus all the food, plus all the medication, and, take them wherever. And I had to take care of my own pets too. I have 2 birds and my own dog. And so I'd have to go home. And so that would be 2 dogs, 2 birds, and 6 cats that I would have to evacuate.
Oh my God.
And it got very close.
It's like Noah's Ark.
Yeah, it got very close. Several times. And before this I was doing it at a certain rate, and then she got another cat, and I told her it was not a good idea to get this other cat because she has too many animals to begin with. But she didn't even offer to like give me a little bit of extra to take care of the extra cat. And so that was a big thing. And so, I was talking to you, and I was talking to my dear friend Becca, who will be on the show. And they were like, look, this is draining you. And this, this person is not taking your best interests into consideration.
Right.
Like a friend should. And, Becca was the one told me, she's like, look, take your energy away from her. You know what I'm saying? And see how she reacts. See, how she reacts to that as you take your energy away. And, and I did that. I started taking my energy away. I didn't, talk to her that much. And she was like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? And I was like, we'll talk about it when you get back, because it's going to take a talk, because there's boundaries that need to be set. You're draining me. And so we get back. She, like I took care of her animals fine, luckily we didn't have to evacuate them. She ended up evacuating them. I offered to help her evacuate them anyways because she had health problems too. another reason why she shouldn't have so many animals. But that's, neither here or there. Um, so, I uh, held it in, and I was like, okay, we'll talk eventually when she's ready, because she was going through a lot, and I didn't want to burden her with more, especially after she got back from the trip. But then I get a text message, and it was just like, leave your key at my door. And so I don't know what that means to you, but because she gave me her house key like when we were first friends, and she's like, return my key, underneath my
Sounds like a buy.
door. It sounds like a buy, right? And so I took it that way, and I was like, okay. I refunded her, because I was her personal trainer too, for the lowest rate that I give anyone. And
just to add, this is not about her.
It's not.
But she.
It's an important part of my
he
discovery.
bent over backwards for this person, like, constantly, and she was actually in a pretty decent position to where she should have been able to compensate him, like, adequately, even if he was giving her a deal. Like, she should have been able to compensate him.
And it's not even about that; it's about the lack of appreciation.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And on to toe,
mm-hmm.
You would bend over backwards.
I would. I did a lot. And it was very draining for me for 15 years.
You didn't even when I
even when I was married, and like, this is an issue too, is that was part of the problem with the marriage, is that my wife at the time would say, you do more than her than you do for me. And and I didn't want to accept that. I was like, oh no. But looking back, it was true. I was doing more for this person than I was doing for my wife. And it really, like, affected the marriage. So yeah, I returned her key, and I was just like, okay, bye. And then she texted me back like, oh, you're gonna end 15 years of friendship just like that? It's like, you couldn't even talk to me. You couldn't even say, hey, what's going on? What's the matter? Can we have this discussion? But one thing that I found with narcissists is that they can't take accountability. So anytime you present them, and you present them with something like, you hurt me, you did this, or, let's talk about this, at least, they will take zero accountability, and instead they reverse it. They play the victim, and they shame your name. And that's what she did, is that, she went ahead and she pulled away. Never would. I was trying to talk to her through a mutual friend, being like, hey, we can still have this talk, we can still build this bridge. But she was like, no, he has to come to me, because she was the victim now. And so that was a big thing, that affected me, and it made me depressed, because I just lost someone who I put everything into for 15 years as a friend. And you know how I put into my friendships. They're like one of my most important things. And then, I got injured from powerlifting. I had a severe back. That was a severe back injury, because it was, because powerlifting was my one. Yeah, I had to cancel nationals, and powerlifting was my one outlet to get out that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden, I find my one outlet, like the one thing that lets me, like, therapeutically release all of this stress and tension and heartache, was taken away from me. And so it was approaching my birthday, and I was really lost. I was like, my identity as a power lifter, I'm a national record holder power lifter. This is what I've built my identity on. I've sacrificed so much. I gave up a career as a private investigator. I, dedicated hours. I dedicated money. I dedicated time. And all of a sudden, it's stripped away from me. A ton of sacrifice. And I was lost. And, I put a lot of my identity into powerlifting, and my friendships. And so I lost my best friend. I lost my ability to powerlift the way that I wanted to. On the level that you wanted to. And the level I wanted to.
Just kind of put them back at a square one in
Yeah.
sense of rethinking things and
But
the direction he wanted
yeah,
to
and
go
it,
in
mhm.
with the rest of his
And
life.
yeah, there's other things too. Like my mom has Alzheimer's, and I worry about her, and I'm always facing that. She's in like pretty much a comatose state, and so that is always lingering. And so I use like powerlifting and stuff, and you know, it was getting towards my 45th birthday, and that's like a big number for me. And I felt really lost.
You look good.
Thank you. But I started having suicidal idolations. Not that I wanted to do it, but the thought of it, and it was very intricate. I was thinking.
Intricate how?
Well, I was imagining it. I was imagining on my 45th birthday, driving out to the San Bernardino National Park. It's really wooded, really beautiful.
I left on the 1st for work out of town. So I
Yeah,
left on
yeah.
the 1st. I wasn't going to make it for his birthday, which he actually shares with my mom too. It's March 5th. But very, very Pisces over here. And I love
Yeah.
that. But so you were thinking about driving to
San Bernardino, yeah, and National Park, and
Park or something.
yeah, and one of my favorite songs is from Bjork, and it's called Hyper Ballad.
That's a good song.
Yeah, and
I
don't know if you ever heard the lyrics about it, but
I'm sure I have. But I have
she's
to go back and read it.
She's at a cliffside, and she's dropping objects, hearing how they fall down and crash, and she imagines her body falling down and crash. It's a song about suicide. And so I was thinking about putting that song on in my earbuds, going out there, sitting at the side of a cliffside, and if I jump, I jump. It wasn't like, am I going to do it or not? But if it came to me, it would come to me. And these thoughts kept amplifying. First, it was just a fantasy, but then it kept amplifying and amplifying to my birthday, where I was going to drive out on my birthday to San Bernardino National Park and just drive out there and just take it one step at a time and be like, oh, I'm just going to drive out there. If I drive out there and I'm in the woods, I'll go walk around. And if I walk around and I find a cliffside, I'll go to it. I'll put on Bjork Hyper Ballad in my earbuds, and if I feel it, I'll jump. And I knew, like, how I know from experience that when I do things step by step like that, I push myself to do it. Like when I first started working out.
So when did you first have this?
It
thoughts? Was building up to your birthday.
Probably it was right as I was splitting with my best friend, probably mid-January, February. As my birthday was approaching, it became more and more impactful, more and more vivid. And so
now days before I leave March 1st, and then where are you?
Yeah, I'm having.
Now it's 4 days.
I'm having visions of it, and I'm having dreams of it, about going out there and doing it. And then it was a couple days beforehand, I was like, all right, let's go to San Bernardino National Park. And then I thought about it, just me driving out there. And I thought about it, and I'm like, wait, what is going on here? What is happening here? This is like that check engine light in a car flashing. And instead of, drive.
You weren't sharing any of this with your therapist?
I didn't have my therapist. This is when I decided to see a therapist.
Really?
Yes. Okay. And so I knew at that point, when I was having those ideas of suicidal ideation, and they were building and building, that I was like, you know what? I need help. I need therapy. This is not healthy. This is not what a human being is supposed to do. You know, this is not the way. This is not a rational way to deal with these situations. It's a lot for me to handle. And that's what my body, everything was telling me, is that I was taking in too much. And I usually handle things by myself, and I couldn't handle things by myself. So my immediate response is like, oh, well, then I should just end the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do it. I'm too weak. I can't do it. I'm just going to end the game. It wasn't because I was necessarily sad or depressed or anything. I was overwhelmed. I felt like backed up into the corner. Life was just kicking me over and over again. And I just didn't know where to go or what to do. And so at that point, I was like, I need professional help. You know, like, I love my friends. My friends are there to support me. But that is way too much of a burden to put on anyone. You know what I'm saying? And, like, if you came to me and you were like...
Put it on a professional.
Yeah.
They're paid to do it.
Exactly. And they know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, you don't go... Like, if I needed surgery, I wouldn't go to you and I'd be like, hey, I need this surgery, Cristina. You're my best friend. Can you do the surgery for me? You know, psychologically, you need a professional to handle these things.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I knew at that point, and I was like talking to both you and, you know, my other friends, and, you know, telling them about, you know, the pressures I was facing. But I knew that I needed to go to therapy. And I remember I went to therapy and I was telling him, and I was like crying, and I was just like, just feel so overwhelmed. I feel so, you know, like, I can't handle all of this. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm really glad you came to therapy and that you saw someone. And ever since I started seeing therapy, one thing that I've learned is to
wait, let me just
go ahead. Yeah, back it up. Yeah.
So then you didn't. So then in the moment where you kind of felt like it's getting now a few days out from your birthday, mm-hmm. and you're like, okay, let's drive to the San Bernardino.
Yeah.
Check engine light comes on, mm-hmm. and you're like, hold up a second.
Yeah.
And then what's the next step? Like, then how does therapy come about? How does that end up happening?
I was thinking about how selfish this ending it was.
Okay.
I was thinking about all the people that I would hurt. Yeah, that I would hurt. That, yeah. And I was putting myself in their you know, shoes. And I was like, what a selfish, awful thing to do to people that care about you. And so it was kind of like a selfless act too. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I can't do this to my sister. I can't do this to you. I can't do this to the people who mean so much to me. You know, like, I can't put that burden on you guys. And so I was like, I want to live. And that was another thing I said to myself is that I want to live, but I don't want to live like this anymore.
You know what? Okay. Yeah. That's good. That's good that you made that decision and mm-hmm. you thought of that. But here's another thing too. Like, this is just to put a little spin on it.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of like a devil's advocate mm-hmm. type of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like you were saying, I mean, I love New York and I do love her music, and mm-hmm. you know, I don't like, sometimes I have to like dig deep into a specific song to look at the lyrics and stuff. Uh-huh. But what's funny is, the thing is that with music, especially, like music, it's kind of like, I mean, it's a form of art, right?
Yeah.
So art is kind of whatever, like it's kind of, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder type of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, so really beauty is kind of changes from person to person.
Yeah.
You know, what you think is beautiful, what I think is beautiful, mm-hmm. right? Perception.
Yeah.
Like our perception of beauty is going to vary from person to person. Mm-hmm. So I think in art, in that way, you can find whatever inspiration you want to find, you can find in a song, even if the artist doesn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Definitely.
So sometimes they may mean it that way, sometimes they may not. Like, she may have been having some sort of like these dreams. She might have been like lucid dreaming, having these vivid dreams or something mm-hmm. that she was singing about, and then, or you know, metaphorically type thing, not actually like, these are thoughts.
But do you want to know something that my therapist told me recently?
What's that?
He told me, he's like, you came in here wanting to kill something about you. You wanted to die, right? Um, and he goes, in a sense, by doing therapy and stuff,
You do kill.
you have killed something.
Yeah.
You have killed a part of yourself, and you've rebirthed a new part of yourself. And so, you did like kill that ego, that self, but you did it in a different way. You did it in a positive way, in a productive way, in a way that has me evolved. And I'm not going to.
But that's what I'm saying. Is sometimes, depending on where you're at, emotionally and mentally, like you can find inspiration in almost anything, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like when people try to blame songs for,
No,
violence
and
or
I'm not
this or
doing
that.
that
No,
at
I'm
all.
not saying that you're doing that at all. But I'm just saying, like, it's like it's art, so it can be perceived as many different things.
Yeah.
But you'll find whatever you're
And
looking
you know
for,
what?
because that's what you're feeling
Yes.
right now. You feel me?
And when I hear that song now, I still think it's beautiful, but now it tells a story of resurrection instead of like death and suicide. And that's where it came from, though, is I really had a need to kill my past self. And the only way that I was picturing doing it was, through the physical realm. But through therapy, through doing shadow work, to going within and facing these traumatic issues that I've had face on instead of ignoring them. And that's why they built up. And that's why all this stress and this weight was on me. And I was taking on other people's weight instead of dealing with my own. I thought maybe if I could help someone else, it would help me in some way. Or
it seems kind of funny that a power lifter wants to take on so much of other people's weight.
Yeah, and symbolically, that's what powerlifting is. It's being able to lift a ton of weight and kind of like feel that, feel that weight and feel that power of holding that weight.
But it's one thing to do it physically.
Yeah, the other one
to just be like, because then you have people who are just throwing all their weight on you.
Yeah, and that's what happened. That's what happens when you don't set boundaries, and that's what happens when you don't take yourself first. And that's what I was doing. I was ignoring myself and instead trying to help broken people that kind of reflected me. And that's another thing is
it's reflective of where you're at.
Yeah, and like
you're broken.
I'm not.
Broken.
Yeah, I'm not talking necessarily crap about this person, because you know what? At the time, people, when we were friends or when we were like whatever, I was a reflection of that person. That's where I was at. I didn't love myself. I had a lot of self-hatred even. And I didn't think highly of myself. But the change now that I'm having self-love and I care about myself and I love myself, I'm able to give a more authentic love to other people, and it's not self-destructive where I'm just taking on people's stress, taking on people's load. I'm filling my cup and having it overflow to help other people instead of emptying my cup and just being an empty vessel, because that's what I felt like. It was like the giving tree, where the person keeps cutting down the tree and cutting it until it's just a stump. And I was that stump, and I had nothing else to offer that person. And when people, and when I didn't have that to offer people, they walked away from me. And so I've had to learn to water my own plant, to grow myself, and instead of being cut down, to bear fruit and let that fruit circulate onto other people. And if they try to take more, that's where I set boundaries.
That's good. That's good. And so now you get that was part of the fires, that friendship that ended, you getting to the point of thinking of taking your own life.
Yeah.
You going to having the check engine light on, and then now it becomes apparent that, you know what, I need therapy.
I need help. Yeah.
You find therapy, and you find friends that support you, and that, you know, support what your, you know, your self-help and how you're trying to do things for yourself and do things differently, right?
Lift me up. Yeah.
Right. So then where does that end up? What direction, like how does that give birth to the podcast, or what were the steps after that?
Yeah.
That ended up. Like, let's walk us through that.
So, a couple great things came out of. I talked to my powerlifting coach in the last episode. He's a great guy, Justin, and yeah. Well, you know, I was going through this, like not being able to lift, and it really affected me because that was my outlet. And I told him, I said, lifting is all I have, and it's been taken away from me. And he's like, Jack, you can't make your identity based on lifting. He's like, I'm you know, a champion power lifter. And he's lifted so much. He's like, you can't do that as a person to make your identity that, because it's so fickle. Like, you're gonna get injured. You're gonna be humbled, and you're gonna be stopped. And you know, it's like there's got to be more. And I really thought about that. And you know, me and my friend Becca, like, have been training in aerial. She's always said, yeah, one day we can perform, one day we can perform. And it was like right after that, I was like, you know what? I was like, Becca, I was like, and it was like about going through this injury and stuff, and I just had to back out of nationals, which really psychologically affected me. And I needed something to transition to. And I was like, we've been talking about performing together in aerial. I was like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's train for it. And she's like, you know what? I have this performance in October. And she's like, let's do it. Let's get the goal. And I was like, that's amazing. That's awesome. And it gave me a new lease. It gave me something else to focus on.
Jack got super excited about
this. I did. And I love it.
I just to add a little bit to that, I thought that was a good direction for him to go in general, because personally, I mean, I like to lift too. I'm not a power lifter and I'm not professional, but it's more like a hobby of my own. I love it. And I just feel like for as much strength as we try to have to lift heavy things in general, you know, just for aesthetics, you know, and for strength, we kind of like neglect our flexibility. And with the flexibility, I feel like if you kind of have mobility, mobility and flexibility, but if you kind of are doing your best, strength wise, mobility wise, and flexibility wise, like it minimizes so much, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor or anything, but in my opinion, it minimizes injuries.
It does. 100%.
Like, incredibly. So I find him going in that direction, aerial work, like that would be absolutely amazing for him, especially just opening up his body in certain ways. Because even with I find, I mean, I've worked in the gym for many years, in different roles, and I find, you know, a lot of guys very strong, but a lot of times the posture is like
I'm doing it right now.
And it's like, and part of it, is the posture of being on our phones or having, you know, but there are some of the smallest, tiniest adjustments that you can make that will just, you know, like flip the script. I mean, as far as like, you know, posture and just little things that can help.
And finding new ways to move your body. And that's what aerial does too. And
so I thought this was a great, this was putting him on a good path in a different direction. And also, I mean, it's also creative, because part of it, it's not just strength.
I was about to say that.
Flexibility, mobility. It's creativity, because, you know, you're doing costumes, you're doing, you know, you're doing a character. You also have music, so you're choreographing something as well.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's art using the physical body. And it was a really cool experience, and I loved it. And so that was one thing that I pivoted towards. that was like the big thing that really helped me through all of this, was being able to pivot. And that's one thing that I've learned as a man, is that the ability to pivot when crisis comes, instead of letting it wear you down and say, woe is me, this, like, why is the world affecting me? Be like, no, it's an opportunity to try something different. And so I was learning the pivot. And so I learned that. And then I started thinking about, and I started talking to other men about, what they go through. My friend Norris has a podcast, and he started talking about men's mental health. And I was like, this is something that I want to go deeper into. And my buddy Norris, he has his own podcast. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a podcast specifically on how men deal with stuff, because I wasn't taught that. I was taught to hold everything in. I was taught to suck it up just to get through it, like that's a man, or just focus on one thing, do it until you fucking die, instead of being more diversified, being more open. And so I was like, this is a great opportunity, also to hear other people's perspective, because I'm really curious about other people's experiences as being men. And like, I can't tell you, Cristina, like the amazing stories that I've heard just through 8 podcasts. Like, I've talked to people
awesome.
that have survived cancer, that have that their husbands die, that have gone through serious blood-borne illnesses where they almost died and they're practically blind, and they've come back. They've come back and they run a business. They have a family. They have kids, and people who have lost all their money and just took a thought, an inspiration, and created something.
Yeah.
And so all these perspectives from men and women have really like given me this urge as a man to go on this journey and to find out what is the common denominator. How can we save men? How can we help men, progress in a positive way, instead of the way they are now, where they're acting like children, through the violence is a childlike reaction. It's that inner kid throwing a fit, and the only way they get attention is through violence. Domestic violence is one of like the biggest issues that we face in America, with crime.
I think it's a lot of like inner turmoil.
Yeah.
Male and female.
Yeah, and I mean, we've both been through it, and it's sad. And so yeah, that was the point of the podcast, is like, I need something, to figure out what's going on with not only with myself, but to help it be like a blueprint for other men to like go through it too, and be like, you're not alone. Life is really tough, and it takes a lot of navigating. And so I'm bringing these inspirational people on to bring out their experiences so other people can know. Because, one thing that I've learned is that successful people are, they're infectious. So if you're around successful people, you'll eventually be successful yourself. And so, that's what I've been learning. It's been a learning process, and that's why I did the podcast, is because I wanted, to grow myself, but to help other people grow with me.
Okay, I could see that. Mm-hmm. When I think of, I think success in a sense is a little bit like a arbitrary,
it's true.
Term, because I feel like success is kind of like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. Definitely. So it kind of depends. But I think as long as you're surrounding yourself with people that are already, that already have the things, like not so much of physically, you know what I mean, that already have the full lives, like the people that that you have on the podcast, that you've had the guests, who are living kind of like, have thriving lives, kind of living their best life, and all of that.
But you know
think
what?
that's kind of the goal for everyone is to live their best
But
life.
you know what the common thread between all these people who have found success and overcome is when I ask them about the suffering that they went through, they still go through it just as badly. Mm-hmm. Like my one guest, you know, she lost her husband and she said it's still painful as day one. It never goes away. It's something that she has to deal with every day. And then when I talk to the my guest who went through the bloodborne, Jared, who went through a bloodborne illness, you know, he has kids and wife and everything, and, you know, he has a lot of responsibility, his own business, and he said he's still traumatized. He's still got to go through therapy to deal with that. And, you know, I think that's important for men to hear, is that the suffering is always going to be bad. You know what I'm saying?
Like it doesn't necessarily stop.
Yeah, the pain
like
doesn't go away.
Just because you reach some pinnacle,
it
doesn't mean
it's
like,
not like,
life's
oh,
all
happy
cherry
ending. Yeah, and, you know, I've got to remind myself of that sometimes.
But the idea is kind of like when you are, as you're arriving, as you're achieving your goals, as you're arriving to a certain place in life, that you're more equipped to deal with these, you know, with these challenges.
And it makes you stronger.
So, yeah, I mean that's kind of like the idea behind it. It's not that everything's all cherries from there on out, but you know.
And you know what? It I want to say it gives me more of a genuine kindness to people, because before I was just giving to people, and there was no authenticity towards it. I was just giving. You know what I'm saying?
So now you feel like there's more of an exchange? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying there's more of
like there's more give and take.
There's more of a realness to the kindness that I give, because it comes from a place of suffering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they always say there's a difference between being nice and being kind.
Yeah, and
like,
you know,
nice is just it's sort of like fake. Kind is actually from your heart.
Jared said it on his podcast when I had him on the podcast, and he said, you know, there's a difference talking to someone that has gone through suffering, because there's more of an authenticity to them in the way that they talk, in the way that they handle themselves. And I feel that I've gained more of that authenticity through my suffering, but through a positive way. You know, I didn't let it embitter me. I didn't let it become bitterness. Instead, I let it become lessons.
Don't become a bitter bitch. Become a better bitch.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
For real.
That should be the slogan of the podcast. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I'm still struggling. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still dealing with it. I mean, you know, the other day I got another, and that was the other thing too, is I had these neighbors, psycho neighbors. No, I'm going to go into it. And they called the police on me. They called the city on me. They called the HOA on me. And luckily, you know, eventually I had to make some compromises to my training, because they were upset that I was training people in my home. And so I had to make some compromises, and I did finally. But, you know, they brought the police to my house several times. You know, I had HOA violations, all of this, and it was a lot of stress on top of everything else that I was going through. And recently I, you know, got another notice from the HOA, and it triggered that old response in me. And I did snap a little bit, and you saw it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I took it out on my dog, and I felt terrible about it.
I mean, not in a bad way. Just a little.
I was snappy. Yeah, and I went to my therapist, and I told him I was.
Kick him or beat him, right?
No, I would never. I love my dog. He's turning 15, or he's already 15.
The dog's gonna have a quinceañera.
We're gonna have a quinceañera on the 20th.
Like a mariachi.
With mariachi band, tacos, everything. Here or there. But anyways, so I went to my therapist, and I felt a lot of guilt about that. And I was like, I just don't want to fall into old patterns. I just don't want to go back to who I was, because that person was sad, and that person was very empty, and that person was very angry and very bitter. And I felt that come back up, and it scared me. And I don't want to go back. I don't want to harm people. I don't want to hurt people, or even my dog. And he was like, you know what? Jack, the fact that you're coming here and you're saying that shows that you changed because you didn't even observe that before. It was just your natural state before.
Better, not better.
Yeah, exactly. But now, like, you know, it's like you're not going to be perfect on this journey of healing. You know, it's a very imperfect process.
And I feel like it's kind of constant.
And it is. It is constant.
Healing
Like,
is constant.
you know, it's not because you heal, everything's not going to be just okay. Like, the same demons are going to come back in the past. It's just you're going to deal with them differently. Mm-hmm. And you may not deal with them the way you want to, like the way you envision, be like, okay, I'm a new person. Now I'm going to be like all calm and collective when this shit happens. No, you're still going to.
Sometimes you may.
You still feel the anger. You still feel it. Like, for example, I'm going to give another example. I was on the road the other day, and this guy in his work truck pulls right in front of me. And I honk, and I'm like, dude, look, he was on his phone, and he just pulled out without even looking. And I was like, what? Come on, man. Like, seriously. Like, pay attention to the road. And it was a work truck, too. And he just waves me off. Like, whatever.
Dismiss it.
Old me would have pulled up next to him and been like, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass. Pull over and we're gonna fight this out because you disrespected me. You know what I'm saying? You disrespected me. But instead I pulled up next to him because I thought about it and I was like, should I address it? And I was like, yes, because it's making me angry and he was inconsiderate and he needs to know. You know what I'm saying? Even if he doesn't take it in,
right,
he needs to know that he doesn't own the road. And
so what did you do?
I pulled up next to him. I was like, do you realize that you didn't even pay attention and you just pulled out recklessly into the road on your phone and you're in a work truck, right, with the phone number right there and you're representing that company. I was like, you could have killed yourself. You could have killed someone else. And I was like, that, you know, I was like, you need to look before you drive and you need to drive more responsibly. And he kind of like dismissed me. He's like, oh, whatever, I'm sorry. And I was like, thank you. And I just drove off, you know, but before it would have been a fight on the side of the road. That's how bad my road rage has gotten. But no, I addressed my anger and I said, look, my anger is legitimate. And I do need to say something, but I don't need to escalate it. I just need to be assertive and say what he did was wrong and just get it off and leave it as is. And he sped past me, whatever. And I was just like, whatever, I'm letting it go now. I said my piece. I did what I have to do.
And then he released it.
And I released it. So the anger didn't go away. It's just how I reacted to the anger. And that's one of the things that I've been working on, you know, recently. Right. It's just my reactions to things. I still feel the things. I still feel sad. I still feel anger. I still deal with past traumas in my life.
Right.
But now, you know, with maturity, it's like working out in the gym.
Therapy.
Yeah, maturity, therapy, everything. You know, it's daily work. It's a lot of work. And
it's a daily effort.
It's a daily effort. It's waking up every morning and not choosing violence. Yeah. But, you know, so I really wanted to, you know, not to be self-indulgent on this episode, but
you just want to explain where you were coming from.
Exactly.
And why.
I think people needed to know where this podcast is coming from, you know. And
now, do you have any goals for where you would like it to go that you want to talk about a little bit? Or like how you want to expand it some? Or like have you had those thoughts?
Definitely.
I mean, sometimes putting it into the universe is a good way to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think just by having conversations, there's a positive impact happening. But, you know, there's a bunch of guests that I want to have on. And I want to talk to people from all walks of life. A couple episodes that I'm going to have coming up this month is that we're going to have a therapy episode where I'm going to talk to a couple professional therapists. And we're going to talk about the men's health issue and, you know, their perspective on it, them dealing with, you know, clients every day that have these issues, have these weighted issues that I have. And
so do you end up speaking to female therapists? therapist, male therapist?
There's going to be a female therapist who's my dear friend, Nassim. And then one of my clients, he's a therapist also. His name's Derek. And yeah, so we're going to have them both on the episode. And
So
we're
it
going to
should be
really
interesting.
dig in. Yeah, yeah. And, I'm going to have Becca on the show. She's my other bestie. And we're going to talk about, really my pivot to Ariel and just like, her perspective.
I mean, because I don't even, we don't have to talk about it now, but because you'll talk about it in that episode. But I don't even know how she got started with it. But it would be interesting, and it's weird because ever since you started doing it with her, I've all suddenly come across people who are hobbyists with aerial work and stuff like who have started it as a hobby or doing it on the side, like just for fun. And so I find that kind of interesting. I mean, it's like whenever you come across it's never coincidence. Whenever you come across these synchronicities, it's always like it just lines things up.
And you say synchronicities too, and it's funny because it kind of like brought back something that I never thought I would do again, which was acting or performance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was so embittered by the LA experience coming out here. Like, I was one of the people that like came out here and tried to make it as an actor and went to a bunch.
I mean, come on, his last name is Starr.
Went to,
I'm a star, I'm a born
dealt
star.
with all the toxic Hollywood auditions and stuff like that, and I was just like turned off about it. And I was like, I'm never acting again. I'm done with this. You know what I'm saying? Like it like I was like, I'm never doing this again.
But lo and behold.
And it's funny. It's like powerlifting, me getting injured in powerlifting and like doing aerial and has brought me back into this performative space in a way that I wanted to, because originally when I was doing acting, it was more of a cathartic thing instead of making it. But I was trying to appease other people's expectations. And so it wasn't really what I wanted to do to make it as an actor. I was just doing it to, impress other people, like my dad or whatever. Instead of doing it for me, which was the original reason why I did acting, is because it was like a real soulful experience for me. And it's cool.
Is that what originally brought you to LA?
Acting? Yes. Okay. Yes. And it's cool that, I'm coming back around to performance on my own terms, and I'm finding the love in it again.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is really cool. And so, yeah.
Sometimes things come full circle, but not the way that you expect.
Yeah.
So you never would have, someone would have
with
told you 5 years ago that, you're going to be doing,
performance again, or even performance again. Yeah, in front of audiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And it was great, like, doing the Burbank, the Christmas in the Park or Holiday in the Park, having those kids like all interacting, and I was like, oh, this is why I used to love acting. And like I got that, adrenaline up again, and I got that, itch again, and I was like, oh,
this is fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun. And I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've made as a man through all of this, through humility, through humbling myself, through the death of the ego, is that I've started doing things for myself instead of other people.
Right.
And I think I've had more of an impact by doing that, because I'm my authentic true self, and my true light that has always been deep down inside of me is once again shining. And that shine,
hello, last name Starr. You gotta shine bright like a diamond.
That shine has not only
shining star
helped other people, but it's brought me to people who have that same shine and that same brightness, because I dulled my light so much that I was near people who didn't have the light within them. But now that I've shed that and I've let my light go, and I'm unapologetically, doing things for myself and having self-love, it's brought me to wonderful people. And I've had some of these wonderful people as guests on my show. And I feel so rich that I'm with these people, and I'm so rich to have such amazing people in my life. And it's
I'm going to just add one thing to that, because I think we kind of have the idea. Unless there's something else that you want to say. But one other thing, I mean, I think it's not just about having people around you that don't drain you, because the thing is that people don't realize how many things drain you on so many levels, because it's not just people. Sometimes it's your house. It's clutter in your house. Sometimes it's clutter in your head. Sometimes it's, having too many pets, having too many, having, it's like too many
financial
things.
Problems.
Well, financial problems are part of it, but it's just kind of like when you're talking about like the things that you're doing right now that enrich you, and it seems like pretty much almost everything's enriching you. But that's what life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you doing things that enrich you, not things that drain you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, and it's not like you're not supposed to look after I don't know, like an ailing family member, or a very good friend or something. Yeah, you can always offer to help. You can give what you can, but you always have to give, but also keep your cup full.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes it's
and making sure that you give it to people that not only appreciate it, but use it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you give so much to someone and they just keep following the same patterns over and over again, you're wasting your efforts. And there's people out there that could use that, help, that would actually take it in and be appreciative of it and use it.
But I'm saying even more than people. I'm saying even more than that, because I think sometimes we do jobs that don't enrich us. We're like, oh, but it's a job. And that's what you're doing for money. So it's kind of like sometimes you have to kind of dig inward a little more and find things, even if it's on a small level, and try to, I don't know, you never know where these things can grow into. It can grow into something bigger that ends up being your main source of income, but it enriches you so much more than.
And that is exactly why.
Actually, I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That is exactly why I took up personal training. I did PI work for 8 years for an insurance company, and I was following people.
Perfect example.
Yeah, I was following people, who were faking injuries, and I thought about it, and I'm like, what am I doing good for the world? All I'm doing is like saving big corporations that care nothing about people, money, on people who are faking illness. And I was like, it's just a cycle of, just not really helping people. And then when I started my physical transformation, I lost 30 pounds. I started getting into weightlifting and weight training, and other people started coming to me and being like, hey, can you help me do that? And I was like, this is my calling. This is how I can really help people and enrich people. And like,
and then you became a power lifter.
And I became a trainer.
Everything. That's my point. My point is that if you just kind of start digging inward, and you kind of take just start to like nurture just some of those ideas, even on a small scale. You never know what that's going to snowball into, because that may end up being like, it just may end up being so much bigger than you thought it would be, and putting you in so much better place. And again, it's not like you ever reach this pinnacle where everything's carefree. You still have struggles wherever you're at. But that's another thing, that it's so important to like love yourself where you are, because, and I always say this example to everybody, and you've heard this before, but you look at a picture of yourself 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago.
Can I preface this with a little bit before you go into it, because I want you to go into it.
There's nothing to go into. It's very.
No. But it was. I talked to my therapist about it, actually, about you, and he said that was fair. He's like, that was really good of her to say that. He was like, that was really impactful. He was like, wow, that was a really powerful thing, because it was the same day that I snapped at my dog, and it was a super moon, and I was like, let's go for a walk, Cristina, and like just talk about intentions and stuff. And I was feeling a little bit of shame, and we were talking about like our past and stuff, and Christina went ahead and was like, you should look back at yourself. Like, you look back at yourself with this negative mindset, when if you looked at yourself honestly, you really weren't that bad of a person.
And I wasn't talking about him in particular,
yeah.
but
Go
just
ahead.
how we kind of look back at ourselves. Like when we look back at ourselves, like pictures and stuff, or things that we've done like a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you kind of like look at those pictures and you're kind of like, wow, I really like, for how you felt about yourself back then, because it's like in the moment, you always feel like, God, I need to lose 5 more pounds. I need to get, I don't know, get my hair done. I need to, yeah, like, not just aesthetics, but yeah, you just like, you don't like, I think when you look back, you're like, why was I so hard on myself? But yet, you in the now still do that right now to yourself. So it's kind of like, it's okay to have goals, and it's okay to want to achieve something, and to do better, and to be a better version of yourself, and to just live your best life, right? But the whole point of it is to love yourself where you're at, because you have to love yourself, like, to get to that next step.
Showing yourself grace.
Like, one step at a time. You do have to show yourself grace, but you have to really, like, maybe you feel like you need to lose 10 pounds, but at the same time, you have to love exactly where you're at, like every inch of your skin. No matter if it's perfect or not, you still have to love it, because you'll get there. But you can't do it by just like self-hate, by like like by any means necessary. That doesn't work. That doesn't work, and it doesn't work for long-term results. Sometimes it works for short-term results, but long-term results, which are going to be like the things that stay with you, because this means now you're changing your life. You're making it part of your everyday. You're making a life adjustment, so not just a fad.
One thing that I do to combat that is that whenever I start with the negative self-talk, or whenever I start beating myself up, I say, would I talk to Christina that way? Mm-hmm. If she like came to me, I would be like, no. I would speak with her with love and empathy. And so I've started doing that. Like, I'm like, would I talk to my friend Becca like that? If, like, I made a mistake and I fucked up and whatever, call yourself stupid. I wouldn't be like, stupid. God, I hate myself. Oh, I'm such a piece of shit. It's like, my God, dude, would you tell like your best friend that? No. You love your best friend, and it's like, you need to talk to yourself like you talk to your friends, like the people you care about and love.
It's true.
Because that's what they see in you.
I mean, sometimes you have to just kind of like laugh at yourself. Mm-hmm. Certain things. But
give yourself
not
grace.
Like not take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's. I mean, I've caught myself on several occasions, and it's that's something you have to constantly do, because you have to catch yourself, but you have to be very cognizant of it. Mm-hmm. In order to catch it, in order to start training your brain in a different way. Because the more you train your brain in that way, and the more you kind of like give yourself that kind of love, mm-hmm. the more you start to just, it'll be more natural to go in the direction that you want to go in.
Yeah.
It becomes a little less effort. It becomes like, you become more cognizant in that way, then it's like all the steps become a little bit easier. They kind of present themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. And like, one final thing that I would like to add is that I feel so lucky to have such great women in my life. Mm-hmm. As friends, as like people I love and I care about. And I think that's part of the problem with men, is that they don't have a lot of these positive or they don't know how to approach female dynamics without lust. You know what I'm saying? That's without genuine.
That's a whole nother.
It is a whole nother
that's
thing.
That's a whole nother episode.
And we will go deeper into that.
Yeah, we should.
But no, I'm like, it's helped me a lot having these female influences, and I think it came from my sister, growing up with my sister.
I was gonna say
because she was such like she was like the only stable part in my life, you know, like
you guys are crazy close.
You were crazy close.
Yeah.
And so like I've learned about, you know, having those strong female dynamics, and they're very important to me, you know what I'm saying? And men, you know, having the opposite too, having strong men in your life is just as important as having strong women, but you do need both as a man.
But the thing is that the strong in women is well, in my opinion, it comes from more of a nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it comes from a nurture.
It takes strength to be like a mother.
To be a nurturer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's not weak.
Women are some of the, you know, women are the life creators. You know, they carry a human being for 9 months in them. That's the strongest.
But we can't create them on our own.
Yeah, you know? Exactly.
So again, I mean, it's that whole yin yang. There's a perfect balance.
I think that in modern society, we've created such a divide, and men are just walking away from women and being like, well, you know, women think all men are shit, so I'm just gonna walk away. Just, you know, like instead of. And that's the point of my podcast, and that's why I have as many women guests as I do men guests on this, is to show the importance of how important women are to masculinity, and having these strong male-female friendships. Like our friendship has like made me grow so much, and I always end the episode.
Well, likewise.
I always end the episode.
He gives me a lot of perspective, a different perspective.
Definitely.
Because sometimes I'm probably a little too much strength in the sense of, I don't know. I think I sometimes think I'm a little bit indestructible, where things don't phase me as much as they may phase someone else. I won't bring up any examples. But then when I hear it, when Jack reacts to it, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That was really bad.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That was really bad.
I wanted to kick his ass.
We won't get into that in this episode. But...
Too much TMI.
But yeah, I was like, okay, you know, you just think... The thing is, because being in LA, you know, being in this town, you become especially like big cities, any kind of big city, you become not cynical, but you do become cynical, but you become desensitized. Mm-hmm. So you kind of expect certain douchiness from guys, so you don't really even, you know. But anyway, so you don't really even it doesn't really. You know, knock you over when you come into contact with him when you have a situation. And so, yeah, anyway, he kind of reminds me like that. And he's like, I mean, I'll run from things when it's appropriate, but sometimes I don't realize how bad that was. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
And like I said, it's like a thing where, you know, I care. But I always end the episode with saying things that I appreciate about the guests. And since I'm a guest, I will say one thing that I appreciate about myself is how resilient I am. Because, you know, like I could have chose to go out to the San Bernardino National Park, and I could have let whatever path unfold. But instead, I took the brave choice of asking for help. And I encourage more men to do that when faced with the same dilemma.
Yeah.
And for my guest host here, the thing that I appreciate about you is your bravery and courageousness towards life. And, you know, the sense of adventure I get whenever I hang out with you. It's always an adventure. And the joy you bring me. And I know a friendship is a great friendship when it feels like home. And whenever I'm with you, it feels like home. I feel safe. And I love you, and I appreciate you for that.
And I appreciate you too. I mean, you're just like this big hunk of muscle and man, but underneath it all, he's just so fuzzy and warm. He's the greatest. He's the greatest.
You're the best. You're the best. All right.
Thanks for having me.
With that lovey-dovey shit, we're gonna.
Yeah, enough of that shit.
With that lovey-dovey
Let's go
shit.
lift.
Let's go lift. We're going to wrap it up. So thank you so much for taking on the hosting duties today, Cristina. You were amazing. And that's it for today's episode of The Other Side of Tough. I'm Jack Starr, reminding you that real strength is found on the other side. Catch you on the next episode.
Yay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And, there we go. And
I had, well,